And we're back, and not as long of a pause between the last pod and this one. What's it been? A week?
It's been a week, mate. It's been a week.
A week?
Yep. 2
weeks. But listen, I just want to start by complimenting what a lovely t-shirt that you have on. I start feeling bad. See, when I watch all the pods and you've got horrible shirts on and I just cane you from the start, I want to compliment you on having a beautiful t-shirt on.
You've complimented me, but as soon as we came in, you asked what their sizing was like, as though you were suggesting
that's just for
it was
me.
Too tight.
That's just for me, mate. That's for me. But Tiger Woods always wears like that red polo shirt on a Sunday because he means business. I think you mean business tonight.
It is business
I'm
time.
excited.
I've got the business socks on. I've been on CompuBox looking up stats. I'm ready now.
Well, just want to say to the viewers here, again, I know we've not got a guest on. We promise. Great guest coming. And Mr. Scott turns around and says, don't worry. I've got a call lined up later with Buddy McGIRT, so you've got that to look forward to later on. Guys, if you tune in
yes.
to me talking rubbish for a while, Buddy will be joining us very shortly.
Great guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Hall of Famer, 2-weight world champ, Buddy McGIRT, coming to us live from Liverpool shortly.
Oh, exciting.
You wanted to start off, you were quite pumped, man. You had like a sort of Russell Crowe and Gladiator type thing going on.
I was practicing it in the car on the way here. So me and you both love our football, but I know this is a boxing podcast. Everyone looks forward to Super Sunday. But Super Sunday included 3 gold medals for Scottish boxing.
Unbelievable.
And at times, I get sad about Scottish boxing. I don't think we've maybe got the stars of the future. But a golden generation for me started on Sunday. A record-breaking haul for the Scottish boxing team. 3 golds on the same day. Reece Lynch, Sean Lazzarini, and Sam Hickey. So, what an achievement to the 3 of them. And I've heard the names before. I don't know if you remember, Nathaniel was on, and he said before he starts, when he's getting into a big fight, he likes to do his finishing spars with them because they're sharp.
Yeah.
He did mention Sean Lazzarini. He thought, he should have went pro sooner. Are these guys going to go pro?
Hard to say, and I guess the achievement is massive. Reece Lynch is probably the one that everybody would have been more familiar with because he managed to capture that bronze medal, Scotland's only ever senior medal at a world championship. So he was going into the competition with a wee bit more sort of publicity and profile behind him. For me, Sam Hickey was absolutely brilliant, man. He looked so good. Head movement was amazing. Counter punching was beautiful. He looked really, really good. Reece Lynch probably he did it the hardest way you could do it. He had to beat 4 Olympians. He had to beat a guy that Josh Taylor had beat, Commonwealth, when he went in Glasgow. Like, he's went through like a kind of who's who in terms of Commonwealth competitors to get that gold medal. And obviously Sean Lazzarini as well. A little bit older than the other 2 boys. He's 25. I think Reece is 21 and Sam's 22. But Sean Lazzarini justifying his decision to stay amateur for the Commonwealth Games. I think maybe he's the most likely to turn pro now, I would say. Yeah,
I hope so. And I think just a fact that people might not be aware of, but in 92 years of the Commonwealth Games, boxing is the only sport where we've achieved a medal in every one of those games, every one of those events.
That's significant.
I wouldn't have guessed that, would you?
No, I wouldn't have thought that either. I thought maybe...
I'd have said drinking.
Drinking, aye. They had to excel that a few years ago. No, it's amazing. It's amazing. And you looked at how the team were getting on. You know, they started off, a boy that we both like, Stephen Ewens, had a bit of a rough start, which was a shame because he was very dedicated and he was determined to go in and get something for the tournament. But you looked at the results as they were coming through, day by day, you were thinking, these guys are going to go on and do something serious here. You've got Matthew McHale, Tyler Jolly as well, who both get bronze medals, which is that's no easy feat either. So, you know, massive well done to them. The Scottish team was just unreal. It was really, really good. Good to watch.
Yeah, just an exciting future for all 3, and hopefully get them on here.
Yes.
Get and catch up and see what their plans are, and they can be extremely proud of their achievements.
Amazing. Just amazing. I think you have to give a shout out to the team behind the team. as well. Craig McAvoy, who I think you interviewed.
Yeah, him and Ricky Burns. Special mention to Stevie Simmons as well, who a coaching licence just prior to the game starting has obviously added a lot of value, which is great. So yeah, a special mention to the coaches, because without them, and especially when you add people with Ricky Burns and Stephen Simmons' experience into that kind of team and the talent that they have, it's exciting. It's exciting. I mean, it's something that, you know, I don't focus a lot on the amateur game. I should focus on it more. But I mean, that's a sign to me that I should be putting more focus into it, because at times you're kind of looking about and you're right, when's the next Scottish boxing star coming? And then 3 gold medals at the Commonwealth, and you're like, wow, it's
significant. And I think you said there rightly, we don't spend a lot of time, we don't really go to a lot of amateur shows. I've been to a few this year for different reasons, but for me, it was the way they were winning these gold medals as well. It was the style of boxing. It wasn't your traditional keep your hands up, march forward and throw a 1-2 and stay compact. It was nice silky stuff like Sam Hickey I mentioned before. Some really, really slick, some slick movement, some lovely shots he was putting together. That's the thing that stood out for me. It wasn't your traditional, maybe British rigid amateur style. It was really good stuff to watch.
Yeah, I seen a post. I think it was from Sean Lazzarini, who's from Barhead, and
right.
he was saying at the start of the tournament, putting posts up saying like anyone can get it, like bring on anyone, and it's nice to see that confidence. I just think like Scottish people in sport, it's almost like, oh, try and get ahead at no matter what sport it is, and we'll hold on. It's like that whole defeatist negative attitude, whereas get into a tournament with that confidence and that positivity. And I don't know, again, if you remember from Nathaniel's pod, but he was jealous because those guys were over at Wildcard, they were going around like America and stuff like that. So and he spoke well about the experiences that he had with sparring, so maybe these guys were getting the same experience, and that's added to them getting this.
100%. It can be nothing but good, I suppose, for the future of Scottish boxing, amateur and professional, and hopefully it inspires a lot of young people to take up the sport, seeing the success that we've had as well, and hopefully the coaching team stays intact. They're only going to get more experienced and more effective as well with the guys they're working with. So, yeah,
absolutely. And just finally, before we move on, you always hear politics about the selection of the GB team and stuff. So, I mean, these guys should be in the reckoning to be selected for that, surely.
I think Rhys Lynch and Sam Hickey are already in the GB squad, so I think they're based in Sheffield mainly, following their performances in the world. So I know Rhys definitely is down there. But yeah, you can't. I mean, they're beating English fighters, they're beating Welsh fighters on the way to these gold medals. So you can't really turn your nose up at that. It's a massive achievement. So fingers crossed that they can continue to do that, whether it's staying amateur, going towards Olympic Games, or whether it's turning professional and making their stamp professional game as well. It's exciting, mate. Exciting.
So moving on, your favourite segment? Only in boxing.
Only in boxing. I love the wee Don King graphic as well. It's class.
Yeah.
Only in boxing today, mate. So last time we had OnlyFans versus Love Island on pay-per-view. This week we are fucking hell. This week I actually mentioned I was talking to Del G about this segment, and he went, that's a really good segment because boxing is mental. Every single week you could have different things that you throw in there, like multiple.
So glad
things.
you mentioned Del, because he only retweets it if he's in it.
He does actually. Yeah, it's true.
Make sure I mention I'll retweet it if he's so.
Thanks,
Del.
Thanks, mate. So only in boxing this week, we're looking at the WBC, World Boxing Council's recent admission that Jake Paul, the enormous YouTube celebrity who's decided to dip his toe into professional boxing, I'm sure you've heard of him, would have received a WBC world ranking if he had fought and beat Hasim Rahman Jnr. That fight was cancelled. It was supposed to happen last week. There was issues with Hasim Rahman, the contracted weight, which I think was £205.
The video out of Jake Paul running away from him, didn't he?
Yeah, they were going back and forward, a bit pathetic, but WBC were going to give him a world ranking. Jake Paul currently has racked up 5 wins as a professional boxer, mate. First fight was against a YouTube personality that somehow wrangled himself a license, a Nissan Gibb. No idea. Second fight was against an old basketball player, I think. Third and fourth fights were against older, past their prime wrestlers by trade. So Ben Askren, Tyrone Woodley, just an absolute sham of a fight.
Twice.
The Ben Askren fight, and then he fought Woodley twice. What are we doing? What's happening with the WBC? Why is Mauricio Sulaiman constantly coming out trying to ride the coattails of anybody that's making money, anybody that's getting clicks or attention? Or it's embarrassing, mate. What sort of messages it's sending to people that are trying to do things the right way?
I don't know if it's because how attractive the belt is and the kind of green and gold. In boxing, I kind of grew up and it was WBC probably stood at the top of the pile in terms of like belt and compare it to the other federations. I thought WBC was always number one. Now they seem to be giving out belts to anyone, and then they've got the franchise champions, and now this, and you're kind of like, this guy's the right guy for the job. Someone needs to get kind of respect and the traditions back, credibility of the WBC, because it's in danger of diminishing.
But is that something that's achievable, bringing that credibility back, or are you in danger of we go more towards what Sulaiman's been talking about here? Because these guys like your Jake Pauls and, you know, whether it's KSI or whoever it is that's kind of coming through and they have these millions and millions of followers, you're only going to see more of that happening. We touched on it last week with the OnlyFans woman, right, who's like a fucking minor Z-list celebrity. But she's still headlining a pay-per-view card. People are still watching that and turning up to the O2 in their thousands to watch those fights. Like, how far does it go with these people coming and getting sanctioned to fight professionally as well, by the way, which is mental? And then now he's going to get a world ranking after fighting. No, he's fought nobody. He's fought guys that have never had a professional fight before. And now the WBC, who are, like you said, the standard bearer, or they were once the standard bearer, the green and gold, the first ever governing body, they're coming out and giving it a stamp of approval almost. Just a bit embarrassing, man.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, when you're talking about WBC rankings, we should be talking about the guys who were a second ago in terms of them turning pro and having a fight and them getting a WBC ranking because of their achievements in the amateur game, not some guy that's fought influencers, MMA fighters and grapplers.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. And it is concerning, but again, I said like last week that it is just about money. But WBC, let's say, oh, somebody please replace him and take it back to its roots of having that credibility as the number one and belt that every pro wanted to win.
I've been to, I don't want to say hundreds of small hall shows, but I've been to probably 50 plus small hall shows, and on every show you would have between 10 and 14 home fighters that are trying to do things the right way. They're either working and they're boxing, or they're boxing full time on a shoestring wage. They're fucking busting their arse to try and get a chance to fight for an English title, or a Southern Area title, or a Celtic belt, whatever it is up here in the small hall circuit. What's to say that in years to come, these guys don't just say, oh, fuck it, there's no point. What's the point? If you're busting your ass for 10, 15 fights on small hall shows, try to sell your tickets, cover your away fighter opponent who you should be beating 11 times out of 10, and you actually just get leapfrogged by somebody who's big on YouTube 20, 25 fights down the line, surely you would lose heart in that. I would lose heart in that.
But I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. I want to ask you a question. Is there something to be learned from your Jake Pauls and your influencers? Like, I'm not expecting some guy that's fighting, you know, at the Crown Plaza or the Paisley Lagoon or York Hall have the followers that Jake Paul does. But does it put a magnifying glass on boxers nowadays that, like, you need to be doing your interviews, you need to be doing your podcasts, you need to be doing your Instagram lives? Like, is there a lesson to be learned in a negative situation here where, like, how come these guys are having these opportunities to be like WBC ranked and making lots of money? Because I think that there is a lot of boxers out there, and I know it doesn't come naturally to them because, like, they get into box, they didn't get into talk, and it comes more naturally to others. But I think that there is a kind of lesson to be learned there in a negative situation from these guys.
I think it's a fair shout, mate. There's obviously something they're doing right, and whether it's marketing themselves before they turn to boxing, fair enough. I guess you only have to look at Vidal Riley, he's a kind of cruiserweight contender working his way towards British title level, and he was a great amateur. I think he won an ABA title. He beat Callum Smith on his way to winning an ABA title, so he's a legit amateur talent. Turned pro, kind of fought on and off. I think he's maybe had 6 or 7 fights at this stage. But in between that amateur period and now fighting on Sky Sports for Boxer, he kind of teamed up and became really friendly with KSI. So his YouTube channel is fucking enormous. His following is huge on social media. And now he's kind of driving himself back into the boxing realm of things, if you like. So he's maybe struck that middle ground where he has the ability and he's proved himself as an amateur. Legitimately talented, but he knows how to play the game, and he's kind of sitting on both sides of the fence, if you like. So there's maybe something to be gained there. Do you think there'll become a time in the future where boxers, just as standard, will have like some sort of like social media manager? I could see it. There was a time a few years ago where they had a lot of that. I remember when I stayed in London, it seemed like every boxer that fought on a York Hall Steve Goodwin show had a PR representative who ran their social media accounts or who designed them little posters, or, you know, there was a lot of that going around, and they would pay these people like a monthly fee and they would kind of deal with their social medias, deal with their promotion, and a lot of their tactics were sort of aligning them with London-based football clubs. So you would kind of try and latch onto a QPR audience, or you would latch onto a Charlton audience, and you'd try and bring the football fans to boxing shows, like for an away day or for like after football, they would travel to York Hall. Football fans would buy tickets.
That's
so
maybe when you see the players going to the pitch at half time and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think you probably still get a lot of that, but there was a period a few years ago where that was quite big. Yeah. It sounded like a car was about to crash through the fucking wall there.
And someone just get body slammed upstairs. So I don't know. Maybe Grado's upstairs. I don't know.
He's always up to that, isn't he? This is not the first time governing bodies have started fucking about with rankings, though, Craig. Only in boxing. Let me run these by you. So, the WBA, probably the worst culprits for me, mate. The WBA make a sham of boxing quite regularly. David Hayes' Playboy mate, Joe Fournier, remember him? Owns a couple of nightclubs, claimed that he went out with Nicole Scherzinger once, like just a kind of bizarre guy who wants to be involved in everything. He was ranked number 11 in the WBA's world rankings. Let's take a look at his resume, mate. So, 9 wins and no defeats in professionally sanctioned bouts. That's good, isn't it? Good record. 9-0. The opponents that he's faced, they had a collective record of 29 wins, 116 losses, and 1 draw. 2 of those opponents were making their debut, including the guy he knocked out in his 9th fight. He'd never fought as a pro before. Brilliant. 5 of the guys out of the 9 had never won a single professional fight. He was in the top 11 in the WBA's world rankings. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. I mean, that just because of his profile, do you think? It's money talks, like a bit of both in terms of him and at that ranking?
It must be. It can't be anything else. It's not based on his amateur pedigree. No. It's not based on the quality of his opponents. It's not based on the credibility of the shows or the promotional outfits that he's working with. It cannot be based on any of those things. Yeah. So what's it based on then if it's not money? Here's the best one though. Sit back. You relaxed? Okay. So the WBA also ranked unbeaten fighter Ali Ramy, a guy with 25 wins, all in the first round. Stopped all his opponents in the first round, right? You've never heard of any of his opponents. Fair enough. They ranked him at number 11 in their junior flyweight rankings, mate. He was dead.
Oh, what?
He died. The month before, he died in an explosion. And they ranked him number 11 in their rankings. They ranked a dead boxer in their top 15, technically making him eligible for a shot at their world title. It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
He's
not doing their due diligence.
No. So these are the kind of things that we're dealing with, and it kind of drives me to ask the question, do we need governing bodies Does boxing need governing bodies? Do we need world titles like that? Or would we just be happy with good fights? See if AJ v Usyk 2, which we're going to do a bit of a segment on later on, see if that had no belts on the line. Would you turn your nose up at it and not watch it? Or would you still watch it and enjoy it?
Still watch it, but let me paint a dream world to you for people that love boxing out there and Craig Scott.
Are we separate?
You imagine?
Are we separate things?
You imagine boxing had like the one federation like the UFC.
Like the UFC, yeah.
Yeah, imagine that. Like the fights you would see, and it was like, by the way, if you want to be the champion, that's great. See the guy above you that everyone wants to see that fight. You're fighting him in 3 months.
But let me shoot this right back at you like a game of fucking pinball.
Sure.
How long would you be waiting for a title shot? There was only one world title, and people only defended their world title once, maybe twice a year. How long would a guy like Joe Joyce be waiting for a world title shot?
But I think fighters would be fighting.
But do you then have to remove rematch clauses as well? Because otherwise you could be
no rematch clauses
going back and forth.
Just to say exact same as the UFC, I think you would see fighters fighting more.
Okay.
Obviously there's injuries and stuff like that, but if you've got a guy, let's say, and he's knocking everyone out, no reason why they're like, oh, by the way, let's put him in with the number 5 in the division in like 3 months' time, the same way as the UFC do.
Yeah. And
in that way, like, you're watching UFC and you're like, oh my god, he might actually fight that guy, and then Dana White's like, yep, it's happening 10 weeks, 11 weeks, 12 weeks at UFC, such and such, and you're like, oh my.
It's a lot less bullshit, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's just
easier said than done.
How long would it take to actually get back to that? And
I think when you look at the size of the organisation, the UFC is obviously like it's quite sizable and it's bigger than it was in the past, but it's manageable. It's not. Boxers everywhere all over the world can start working their way up different rankings. Imagine you were doing that. Like if you go on BoxRec, some divisions will have thousands of fighters in them.
But the belts and box.
Yeah, I think so. Other than, of course, my favourite belt, the WBO European, which if you've not seen it, we'll flash probably a couple of pictures up here because it fucking cracks me up. It looks like a scrotum that you would see on a nudist beach in Benidorm.
I remember having a laugh with Sam Maxwell about it, and he put up some post about like how he was having to do all this ironing. I was like, make sure you iron your belt at the same time, mate. That's
what Brad Ray said. Brad Ray was like, I'd fight for it, but I just need to iron it afterwards, which is fucking terrible. Do rankings, do governing body titles, fringe titles change your opinion of a fighter? If I showed you a fighter that had a silver international WBC belt, would you care? Would it make you like them more or feel they were more accomplished?
No, I don't know if I'm a bit of a traditionalist, but I like people that it's like, you know, you talk about up here, it's like your Scottish title, down south it's like your area titles, and then it goes to British title, and it goes to like probably European / Commonwealth, and then up to world, like that traditional route. And I think that's really good for the experience and education, I think, as well. But now you're seeing like the WBO European, the IBO Continental, WBC International Silver, and it's just like, none of that means fuck all to me. I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anyone, but in my mind, title, I'm like
the global title,
British, European, Commonwealth, World.
Yeah.
Obviously from Ireland, if it's like the BI or the Celtic title, like I get it, but I mean, you live down in London, Like, is it the area title? Is that a big deal?
So it is. So it is for fighters at that level. Like, I know fighters in that
York
was
Hall, like fighting
that was a world title, man. So there was a guy, Jack Hughes, funny, sort of wacky character, like different to any other boxer. Used to paint his nails and wear lipstick, and he was a bit of a kind of punk, and that was his thing. He fought for the Southern Area title about 3 or 4 times, and he's just won it a couple of months ago. He'll be the happiest man in the world winning that title. And for other people, it's something they can gloss over or they don't. I think titles like that have meaning for fighters of certain levels. And for other fighters, they'll be stepping stones or they'll be belts that they leave behind and don't bother fighting for. That's fine. It's just a dilution of, right, okay, this is your full title, this is your franchise, this is your interim, this is your silver interim, like, this is your diamond belt. Like, fucking hell. No need for it. Absolutely. Anyway, that is only in boxing. And obviously, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the governing bodies. We'll cut to our interview now with Buddy McGIRT, International Boxing Hall of Famer, 2-weight world champion, unbelievable trainer. He's getting ready to take his guys from Liverpool to Saudi. Enjoy. We're now joined on the Roots of Boxing podcast by the one and only Buddy McGIRT, 2-weight world champion, International Boxing Hall of Famer. How are you, sir? How's things?
Everything's great, baby. How you been?
Not too bad, not too bad. Where are you now? Am I right in saying you're in Liverpool?
Yes, I'm in Liverpool right now at the moment, yes.
How are you finding Liverpool?
And Liverpool's nice. I mean, I can't complain. It's part of work, so I got to do what I got to do. But they treated me good. So I can't complain.
Well, that's good to hear. I was wondering if you'd be okay with my accent, but then if you're in Liverpool, accents are probably fine for you now, I'd imagine.
Exactly. You're right.
And how are the Smith brothers treating you? I trust they're looking after you.
Oh, yeah. They treat me beautiful. I can't complain.
Good. Well, listen, thank you very much for the time. We're here. We're on the podcast. I've got my colleague Craig here as well. Great to speak to you. Obviously, big week coming up for you over in Saudi Arabia. 2 fighters on the card. Obviously, you have Callum Smith on the card as well, fighting at light heavyweight now. And you have newcomer Ziyad Almaayouf, who I was lucky enough to speak to last week. How are the guys getting on? How's the preparation been?
Everything's been great. I can't complain. The only bad thing is the weather here. The weather's so damn crazy, man. But other than that, the training has been going good. Thank God,
Good. And tell us a little bit about Zizo. So I spoke to him last week. Great guy. Tell me a little bit about how you became linked up with him and what you're expecting from his debut.
Well, it's funny. He was in the gym with his trainer, and then he came to me and said, can you help me? I want to learn more. And I said, well, I got to speak to your trainer first. And he says, okay. I said, but I want to speak to both of you together. This way, I don't want the trainer to think I went behind his back or anything. And we sat down, we talked, and, I told the trainer, I said, listen, I'll help you. You still be the head trainer. I don't want to take nobody's job, so I'll help you guys, as much as I possibly can. And the head trainer's like, no problem. And then one day the head trainer said, you know what, I'm out of here. And he left.
So you're the main man now?
Yeah, so he left. And then, the kid was like, buddy, I need your help. So I couldn't just say no. I couldn't turn him back. I couldn't turn him down. And that wouldn't have been right.
Yeah, of course. What have you liked from him so far in the gym? How have you been kind of tracking his performance? How's he getting on?
He's getting on good. It's different for him. So a lot of this is new. But he's getting it. But I told him I'm gonna get him a shirt today that says the School of Hard Knocks because the camp is different. He's never experienced anything like this, and these boxing guys out here. I mean, they're giving us good boxing. And these guys are working. They're getting in his ass. They're making him work. It's either shit or get off the pot.
Absolutely. And how is Callum Smith's progression up to 175 going? Obviously, he's got a big fight. It's going to mean a lot for him to get that win over in Saudi Arabia. How are things going up at the higher weight? He's massive, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very big. So, I don't know how the hell he made 168, but he's doing good. Everything's good. And, we're just, putting the final touches on what we got to do and be ready for the 20th.
Yeah, fantastic.
Hi, buddy. It's the other Craig here, so hopefully you can understand my accent as well. I'll speak slower with my broad Scottish accent. How are you feeling about the trip to Saudi Arabia? Obviously, it's a massively different culture to the UK and America. Is it somewhere that you've been before?
No, I've never been there, but I'm kind of excited, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's something different,
Yeah, of course. And what about the spectacle as a whole? It's a massive fight worldwide. Are you excited to be involved in that?
I think it's great. It's good to be, part of history. It's a great show. The main event, the rematch that everyone's been wanting, so I think it's going to be a great night of boxing.
What are you expecting over there in terms of the fans? I mean, the British fans are renowned for boxing in America as well.
That's going to be interesting. You know, I don't know what to expect, so that's what makes it more fun.
Yeah. And the AJ Usyk fight, the first fight, what was your thoughts on that, and who would you be picking for this time around?
Well, I'm not going to pick a winner for the second one. I just want to sit back and watch. But the first fight, I think that Usyk gave him too many rounds. I'm not Usyk. I'm sorry, Joshua waited too long to get off.
Yeah, he was quite hesitant.
You can't. Yeah, you can't do that with a guy like Usyk. He'll pick you apart.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that's probably what you can expect to see with Joshua working with Robert Garcia, right? He'll be trying to get off quicker. He'll be on the front foot a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean that's what everyone's anticipating. That's what I think is going to happen. But I mean, we never know.
Yeah, true. Buddy, you're renowned for your kind of work in the corner and the way you speak to your fighters as well as a head trainer. What would your advice be to Joshua going into this fight, and when he's in the heat of the battle, what would you be telling him to focus on?
Oh my, that's a good question. You know, but I would have him focus on just controlling the tempo and keeping it.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta control the tempo from the beginning, and you gotta keep it. You can't lose it, because if you lose it, if you let Usyk take control, then you're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah, absolutely. If you let him get started, he's hard to catch, isn't he, Usyk? Yeah. He's got all the angles and all the fitness as well. Fantastic. Listen, buddy, I don't know if we spoke the last time we spoke. I don't know if you'd been inducted into the Hall of Fame. So if it was before then please accept my congratulations. Extremely.
Don't worry about it, man.
Extremely.
I got inducted in 2018. I got inducted.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if we spoke before that or maybe afterwards. But massive achievement and well deserved. Craig and I really appreciate your time today. You're an absolute gentleman, and safe travel next week. Hopefully everything goes well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay, you guys. All right. Have a good one, gentlemen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hall of Famer Buddy McGIRT on Roots of Boxing, live and exclusive. He's a gentleman, isn't he?
Absolutely. I thought you were winding me up earlier in the day when you said, we've got quite a few guests lined up, but unfortunately none of them could make it tonight. And you're like, yeah, I've got Buddy McGIRT lined up for a phone call. So
that's what I do, mate. Just dig into the old phone book.
What a phone book you've got.
Sometimes it's Buddy McGIRT, other times
Pam Landerson, Buddy McGIRT,
Greg for G4, Ben.
Exactly.
Who knows who I might whip out. But yeah, massive thanks to Buddy and Rachel Charles for setting that up. And looking forward to seeing his fighters in action next week.
Absolutely. And it's a new experience for Buddy as well. First time going to Saudi Arabia, and I think that's the thing I'd be most interested in, how it differs from that kind of atmosphere and the event building throughout the night with the kind of British fans and American fans. And is it going to be filled with people travelling from the UK? Is it going to be filled with Saudis? Is it going to be a mix? Like, what is that atmosphere going to be like? Especially for someone like Callum Smith that's been involved in so many big nights with great atmospheres. Yeah.
Be interested to see. Tune in and we'll see Buddy, we'll see Callum Smith, Ziyad Almaayouf, and obviously the main event. Yes. Buddy McGIRT, hope you enjoyed that. Great guy, Craig.
Absolutely. Top guy. I couldn't believe it when you said it today. Made me extremely happy. Somebody I've always really respected. I remember the article you done and the story you told me from it as well. So someone I've always respected, and it's mad when you're sitting in this podcast studio in Scotland and this guy's going out to Saudi Arabia. Callum Smith is the main fight before the Joshua Usyk fight, and he will be in the corner for his first visit to Saudi Arabia.
He's in the corner for Gatti Ward.
Unbelievable.
Crazy, eh? Kovalev's trainer for years. He's fucking some man.
Unbelievable. So we're moving on. Worst boxing predictions. We put up a post earlier. There has been a massive response to it, but I want to bring you in first because you tell a nice story.
It's not nice at all.
About a boxing prediction someone that's very famous in Scotland and someone's dad addressing that prediction later down the line. What to tell us more, Craig?
Aye, so we used to do a podcast called Fight Talk in London, and we did like predictions and whatever else, and it was Josh Taylor was fighting Ohara Davies. Obviously, Josh Taylor was going to beat Ohara Davies, right? I just tried to be a bit different and predict Ohara Davies, because at that time I liked Ohara Davies. He had these big long arms, he was knocking people out, he was kind of like clumsy but unorthodox, and it was kind of working for him, and he seemed to have a bit of momentum behind him. Josh Taylor was excellent, obviously, but I just thought there was a chance he might get caught with a big shot. So I sat there and I was on this podcast. Obviously, it was like a video podcast, and I said, "Oh fuck it, I'll pick Ohara Davies." Put my neck on the line. Ohara Davies, I think, might catch Josh Taylor with a wild shot. And I think I specified it was a wild shot, and he might stop him. Terrible prediction, right? Terrible prediction. So we go to me, Rob Tebbett, Ryan Elliott, went to Josh Taylor when he fought Ryan Martin or Victor Postol or something like that at the Hydro. And at this point, everybody knows that Josh Taylor is going to be a superstar. He's fucking brilliant. We're all loving him. I'm Scottish, so I'm buzzing off it as well. I think I just moved back to Glasgow at the time, so I was all aboard. And we're going backstage because so he's just won the fight. He looked superb, as always. Going backstage because Rob was going to interview him. I think we ended up going to a press conference after this. But as we're walking to go backstage, this guy kind of like gives me a nudge or like grabs my arm. And I went, "How you doing?" And it's Josh Taylor's dad, right? Who's fucking terrifying anyway. So he's just like a hard Edinburgh guy. Really nice guy. He went, "You picked Ohara Davies to beat my son." I went, "What?" He went, "You picked Ohara Davies to beat my son." And this was fucking years ago. And I went, "I don't think I did. I don't know if you've got me confused." And he went, "You did. You were sitting on a wee box doing a podcast. You had a yellow t-shirt on, and you were sitting in front of all these fight posters behind you, and you said that Ohara Davies would beat Josh."
Fight talk.
And I just went, "You've done me there. You've absolutely done me." So I just had to own up and apologise, and it was really awkward. And that was it. That was my story. So that is my prediction to kick things off.
And you just said Josh Taylor's from Edinburgh. He's actually from Preston Pans. So the next time you see him, he'll be having a word in your ear. So
I'd probably take Edinburgh, wouldn't they? They'd probably announce it as Edinburgh.
He insists on Preston Pans.
Okay, Preston
getting introduced.
Preston Pans. It's too late now. I've fucked it now, haven't I? So that's my story about when me and Josh Taylor's dad met backstage.
So when we spoke earlier, we're going to discuss this. I haven't got that many exciting ones. I've been trying to rack my brains, and I probably have had really can't think of. But I thought Liam Williams was going to beat
Andrade.
Thought he was going to beat him. Thought Liam Williams was going to win a world title. Can't see that happening now. And I was that much a Ricky Hatton fan.
I can't remember if that was like a landslide. Was Mayweather like a huge favourite, or was he just like quite a big favourite? I always remember that fight as being thought of as kind of close.
Yeah, I think it was just the momentum that Ricky Hatton had, and obviously the fans and the excitement. Yeah, it's Floyd Mayweather, so it's just he used that again. But see, to be fair, in that fight when you watch it back, the referee
it was terrible.
It was like didn't even let them clinch whatsoever. It was like so.
Who was it? Robert Bird? Can't remember who the referee was.
I think it might be. I think you might be right, but it was almost that he wasn't allowed to get close to him. He wasn't allowed to rough him up. He wasn't allowed to do anything that night. So I think that harmed his chances. I'm not saying he, but
it sounds like you're re-predicting now that if
it's
that
definitely going to win. If he fought again now, definitely win. Ricky's no way back. Brad told us, so he's on the way back. I think.
Let's run through some of these.
Yeah, let's run through.
We've got loads to run through. So my Ohara Davies to beat Josh Taylor was actually echoed by Kasim. Shout out Kasim on Instagram. He thought Ohara Davies would beat Josh Taylor as well.
So two entries were the same. Lucy McDonald, who just had a lovely weekend in Belfast for the Michael Conlon fight.
Did, yeah.
Best fight night of her life, so shout out to Lucy and John Ralton over on Instagram. So they picked Dillian White to beat Tyson Fury. I think that's...
I don't know, it's a bold shout.
Yeah, it's a bold shout. Listen, I can't defend either of you. Apologies.
Yeah, it was a terrible prediction. Well done for owning up as well. Jamie Cox to stop George Groves from my mate Dan Edwards on Instagram. That is a shocker. I didn't think Jamie Cox was going to get close to George Groves, did you?
No.
The first round of the World Boxing Super Series, I was there, and me and Andy Scott from Sky Sports Boxing got locked out during the ring walk because they wouldn't let us in. Just fucking let us in.
George Groves was like a kind of fine wine. He was getting better as he got older, so I don't really see that prediction.
Good. Dan, cracking guy, loves his boxing and is expecting his first child, so congrats, big man.
Congratulations.
Bilal backed Nathan Gorman to beat Daniel Dubois. I think I did that as well.
See, I don't think that's that bad. Like, obviously, if you see Daniel Dubois and his power and he catches him, like, then you can go, oh, that was a silly prediction. But Nathan Gorman, again, he was on the rise at that point, wasn't he? That was a really exciting... There was a lot of interest in that fight. I remember.
I thought it was going to be
still
really
a fan
close.
of Nathan Gorman.
Needs to shed the weight, doesn't he? He's massive.
Yeah,
now.
but Dubois just get that devastating power. And obviously Shane McGuigan now, but I know that's back then. So
yeah. No, I thought that would be a lot closer, that fight, so I don't think that's a wild suggestion.
Yep.
On you go, mate.
Brad Dre, the Sting friend of the show. I'm missing Brad, actually. I've not spoke to him.
A good lad.
Still waiting on my signed glove, by the way, Brad. So yeah. Don't make me call you out for a 3-round spar like that guy with Sonny Edwards.
Oh my God.
Only one winner.
Fab Kanga.
So, yes, he was predicting Isaac Chamberlain, Lawrence Akoli to be a good fight. I still think that's maybe the worst fight I've ever watched in my life.
Oh, mate, I was there. I had to get
Oh, really?
Fucking hell. I was in a corporate box with Callan and Hannah Rankin. I had a normal ticket, like a media ticket, and I was walking up the escalator and Noel phoned me and he was like, are you coming to this show? And I went, I'm just going up to my seat. I'm in a box, I think I could get you in. Cool.
Why have you got this... Sorry, I know we're on this subject now. Craig Scott has got this unbelievable ability to get the worst ticket at a show and somehow just like end up in private boxes or ringside. I was at the O2 Josh Taylor Prograis fight. I get media. So did Robbie's boss.
How bad was my seat?
Craig's up in the 4th tier of the O2.
Sit next to a stage.
And every time I turned round, he was just coming down tears, like waving, like, look up. And then before I knew it, he was like on the ground floor, but like just behind us. And I was like, how's that even possible?
I was back in the changing rooms and all that. I'd be access all areas. Brilliant.
How do you do it?
Well,
Is it just a positive mindset?
That one, my mate John O'Donnell was fighting. He was fighting... I can't remember. He was fighting on the card, and after he finished, he was just going to go up the road. So he phoned me and said, do you want my band? And I said, yes, please. What was I going to say there?
Talking about Hannah and Noel in the box, Isaac
Steaming.
Chamberlain.
Oh, absolutely steaming, mate. Who else was in there? Jamie Jewett and Camilla Thurlow, who I believe won Love Island.
Wow.
They were in there with us, steaming. I was steaming as well. So, good night. Terrible fucking fight as well. I think that's when Ted Cheeseman lost to Sergio Garcia, maybe?
Right.
But that fight was shocking. Hearing some rumours that my good mate Craig Mellon was telling people Gary Cornish would cause AJ problems when they fought. That is a fucking shocker. Too much Tommy Gilmore for him, I think. That's a bad one.
Jamie Murphy over at Boxing BOS.
Yep, BOS, yep.
Said Rigo to beat Lomachenko. That really flattered to deceive over in Madison Square Gardens, didn't it? And that was a famous night where you were chucked in a bush.
I was chucked in a
video.
Chucked in a pile of rubbish.
Love watching that video.
Chucked
you send me that again?
Rubbish, yeah.
Rubbish, was it? It wasn't a bush?
No, it was a big pile of bin bags on the side of New York State.
Who done that to you? I'll have a word with him.
Dean Richardson, former Southern Area champion, pushed me in a big pile of fucking bin bags in the snow. Thanks for that, Dean. His birthday yesterday. Fuck you. Callum at BC the Grand Slam on Twitter. One of the hosts over at Below the Belt podcast. Check those guys out. Great stuff. Callum thought that Hatton would be too big and too strong for Manny Pacquiao, which obviously did not end well in the second round when people thought he might have been dead. That was one of the worst stoppages, like one of the worst knockouts I've seen.
Yeah, it was horrendous. Really and heavy. Then his wife or partner was like sobbing it. I hate that. Yeah, not nice. Not nice. So David Payne, the boxing writer on Twitter.
Great writer, by the way.
Thought that Clifford Etienne would beat Mike Tyson on points. Mike Tyson won by KO in the first round.
Good solid prediction there. Couldn't have been further from the truth, but good shout. This one is incredible, mate. At Beardsley L88 said, this is on Twitter as well, I actually can't believe this is true. I thought Jamie McDonnell would be too big and would outpoint Naoya Inoue. Nah, mate.
But see at the time though, seeing his defence,
mate, nobody thought that.
Not
apart from Beardsley. Come on.
I've got a couple of thoughts about these predictions, but I'm going to share them at the end once we work through. So Catherine Murray thought Kell Brook would wear down and stop Errol Spence Jr. when they fought in Sheffield.
Ended up being the opposite, didn't
it?
Yeah. Jamie Ramage, good lad on Twitter, bravely admitted that he thought Eubank Jr. would be a clear winner when he fought George Groves in Manchester. He wasn't, but I don't think Jamie was alone there. I think there was a few people that were kind of tipping Eubank. I think they were maybe thinking the same as you. It was the same tournament, right?
Last pod you were slagging me because I said Conor Benn will get the jab going early.
Yeah.
He was never going to win that fight because George Groves has got a lethal jab.
It looked in it. Remember in the last round when Groves popped his shoulder? And
I should be a boxing expert. See this jab chat, honestly, I should be.
Very good with the jab chat.
Next one, Johnny P. Good tipped Lucas Brown to beat Dillian White. What do you think of that?
I think there's always been this thing with Dillian White where you kind of understand and accept that he's a limited heavyweight. He's strong and tough and he can punch and he's got a decent engine, but kind of know that somebody would have beat him at some point. Maybe no Lucas Brown, though.
Not Lucas Brown. Nah. Lucas Brown for me.
Pat Farrow on Twitter gave us a couple of crackers. So, number one, Dimitri Salita, who's a top guy, by the way, we should get him on, to knock out Amir Khan. Didn't happen. The fight lasted 76 seconds and Amir Khan battered Dimitri Salita. He might not come on after that now. And Brian Minto to stop Marco Huck. Marco Huck stopped Brian Minto towards the end of their fight.
Ronan P. Smith told his mates that Froch versus Abraham would be a guaranteed war. Says he looked like a prick afterwards.
I think, was that fight really boring? I think it was Froch just boxing, wasn't it? Like he wasn't like a proper
Arthur Abraham, you know?
Yeah. Yep, fair. Kevin Mitchell to beat Michael Katsidis from Adam Ev on Twitter.
Great fight that, by the way.
I think
that was Upton Park, wasn't it?
Aye, but it was only 3 rounds or something, wasn't it? And Mitchell got stopped.
Aye, but it was like,
it was wild.
As long as it lasted, it was
wild.
Oh.
But I think Mitchell I replied to Adam about this one. I think Mitchell had a lot of mad things going on in the background and wasn't really living the life. I think he's been quite open about that himself.
Katsidis was never tough. Boring to watch. Yeah, tough, heavy hands.
But I do think Kevin Mitchell would have beat him if he was focused. Mitchell was good, man.
Yeah.
Remember the Linares fight? Superb in that fight, and then his eye just blew up.
Yeah. Just get this habit of giving me mad names.
Good luck with that.
It's the top man, Riku
Heikler.
Yeah, so Riku, so check him out at Lead Right. Really, really good guy. I've had the honour to meet him once in London. Hopefully see him again soon. Let's just say at the Ben Eubank Jr. fight.
Yes.
So, yes, he predicted that Charles Martin would become an old...
This is good.
This is good. Predicted that Charles Martin would become an all-time great after the Prince walked into the O2 wearing described as a Burger King crown.
Fucking Burger
This is my favourite one so far.
A Burger King crown. And I can see Riku making that prediction as well, to be fair. He did say that he'd had a few drinks at that point. John Angus MacDonald, one of my favourite writers, Scottish chap, we should get him on as well, actually. Yep. He said that Avni Yildirim could be the dark horse of the World Boxing Super Series, which might be the worst prediction of the lot, John.
That's the one that Eubank Jr. battered in his backyard, wasn't
absolutely
it?
Battered.
He had maniac fans, to be fair.
And his manager's a fucking head case as well. Ahmet Onar or something like that he's called. Right. Just to confirm, John now does write betting columns for Boxing Social, so I'd fucking stay well clear of them, to be honest. They are long shot columns, in fairness, but
So John Evans fancied Polish heavyweight Andrew Galota to topple Mike Tyson. That's a few Tyson defeats we've had in now, and they usually end in first round knockouts. Can you remember from memory what?
I don't think it was the first round. I think it was maybe the third. Could be making that up.
Third's better than the first.
Yeah.
Like other predictions.
And on that theme, another one for Mike Tyson to be toppled. Mark Baldwin over at Fight Post. Check that site out as well. Some great stuff. That guy writes fucking relentlessly, man. He predicted that Tyrell Biggs would beat Iron Mike. 7th round stoppage for Mike Tyson in that fight. And Mark told me that it was the innocence of youth. He's got no excuse now if he makes any bad predictions.
Brilliant. What articles have you got coming up?
I'm hoping to have something with Julian the Hawk Jackson, which should be nice. I've got a feature with Ziyad Almaayouf, who is one of Buddy McGIRT's guys that we were speaking to him about. And I've got a few other irons in the fire.
And I was keen because I know it's someone you're quite friendly with and speak. What was Callum Smith's assessment of his performance? Did you get a chance to speak to him since the fight?
I texted him back and forward a couple of times. He was happy. He was enjoying. I didn't really ask him what he thought about the fight. I just said, great performance. You know, that's one of the fights that will define your career. People will look back on that and say, that night when you were at home, in front of your home crowd, near the beach.
What an atmosphere, by the way.
It looked
What an atmosphere on the beach. Even all the media people were like, we need to come back here on the beach.
It looked
unbelievable. It was like they were on holiday but working at the same time.
I spoke to a few people that were there as media and they said that you'd struggle to match that atmosphere. It was like really bubbling away when they were sat ringside. I think he was just enjoying a bit of downtime with the family. He's obviously got a new baby, wee Frank. He's only 6-7 weeks old, so I think he just wanted to zone out, so we never really got into any deep conversation. Good. But great performance, great win. And shout out to Isaac Chamberlain as well. Just solid performance. I think his eye broke his orbital bone in the 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah.
Went the distance, and you know, he had Chris Rocker in the last round as well a little bit, so
two top guys and top fighters, but yeah, it was great to see him back. Hopefully see him back in the ring again soon.
Needs to be in with those kind of fighters, I think, those kind of guys that are at his level. So
yeah, something to motivate him.
Yeah,
so hopefully maybe get a fight night in London, see him back out soon.
See him again. Good guy as well. Isaac spent a bit of time with him in the past, so yeah, good to see him back on a big stage. It's nearly here, mate. The big fight. It is nearly upon us. The rematch. Buddy McGIRT was telling us a little bit about it, giving us a little bit of insight in terms of how he'd approach it if he was Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is attempting to become 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. To do that, he must overcome slippery, strong, counter-punching, dancing, moving, back-flipping Alexander Usyk. Let's get into it. What's your thoughts?
Usyk stops him.
Did say that last pod.
He is an absolute bear. He's been sparring big guys. Big Piccoli's been over there, who obviously performed well against Tony Yoka. Yep. He has actually sparred a lot with AJ in the past as well. So I think that the tact has been big, powerful, physical guys. They're expecting maybe AJ to try and come forward and smother Usyk's work. And that's where the success. I'm still not convinced. I know Robert Garcia's in the corner. He might, there might be a change there, but I'm still not convinced once AJ gets in there mentally be able to commit to taking shots to land his own. That's my assessment. Over to you.
Interesting. I'd probably agree. I think I said last time that I thought Joshua would win a split decision. That's me looking for value in the fight, I guess, and hedging my bets on maybe a bit of shaky judging, or I just feel like there's a lot going into this from Joshua's side. Any kind of advantage or any kind of favouritism that they can aim his way, they will probably try to do that. I think realistically Usyk probably wins. I think if he stops him between 10 and 12. Probably goes the distance for me with another unanimous decision, but he's just too good, mate. He's just too good.
What does AJ do if he loses this fight?
Well, this is the thing that confuses me with the whole DAZN, the bumper contract that he signed with DAZN, and this fight isn't a part of that contract. Like, what is AJ's market value if he loses again? That's a fucking mental business deal for me.
I only see see 2 fights he can have that anyone's going to be interested in.
Hit me.
Fury and Wilder.
I think he could rematch Dillian White to get himself back up there. That would sell.
Might not win that fight.
I think it's true.
So he's in. But listen, you know what? He deserves credit. Rematching this fight straight away. He's fighting a very, very top fighter that for me will go down as a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
So he deserves the respect. And listen, he could land a shot. He could win the fight. Heavyweight boxing's all about. So he deserves respect for that. I think the only fight I've watching has been the with Reese, just because he was out there to do a job and Reese wasn't in shape. Yeah. I'm absolutely buzzing for the fight. I'm really excited for it. I think the shape of Usyk when we seen the picture, wow, he looks.
Yeah.
Technically, he's got it all, and he's got the confidence of winning the last fight when he was probably smaller than he is now in the backyard. Okay, so I just see it.
Well, let's look at what's changed for both men then. So both guys have kind of experienced a lot of different things in the last 11 months. If you look at AJ first, obviously he lost. He kind of mulled over his coaching team and what he was going to do, and he decided to separate from Rob McCracken, who had been his only trainer as a professional. He'd brought extra people in to kind of offer different opinions surrounding Rob McCracken, but he parted ways with Rob, and now he's linked up with Robert Garcia. He's working with Angel Fernandez still, who's a cracking young coach as well. What do you see? The easy thing, and Buddy mentioned it when we spoke to him, the easy thing to assume is that will result in a more aggressive, front-footed performance. Is it as simple as that for you?
No, that's what I was saying before. It's not that simple, because you can do all the stuff in the gym and all the stuff in sparring. It comes down to you've got Usyk in front of you again. They're like, get aggressive, on your front foot, throw shots. I think maybe tactics will probably be like aim for the body of Usyk, try and slow him down to start with. But it's one thing doing it, and another thing actually, getting a result from that or committing to that. And for me, he's going to need to take some shots to land his. And see if he does, he could win the fight. But you're scarred and you've lost to this guy and you've tried the whole boxing side of things. You've been outboxed comprehensively.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, right, get more aggressive. If you're not going to last 12 rounds, throw the kitchen sink at it. And your shots aren't landing. What do you do?
Yeah. And you're getting picked off on the way in.
Exactly. By someone that's now bigger and confident, and you've not got that same roar.
Yeah.
Maybe when you land shots in the UK that are all in your favour, maybe it's a bit more of a kind of balanced crowd.
I think it'll be quite a quiet crowd. You see those Dubai shows that people were putting on, and all like a big angry atmosphere or like a bubbling atmosphere there. They're all quite reserved.
Just feel like a very lonely place start.
Yeah.
And it feels almost like deja vu, and option is to take more punishment to land your own shot.
What I always think is interesting is when fighters at that stage of their career who have been doing what they're good at or what's worked for so long, is they switch to a completely different training team. How much can Anthony Joshua, if he's 31, 32, whatever age he is now, how much is he expecting to change during this camp? What can Robert Garcia and Angel Fernandez together, what can they get him to do that he hasn't been doing for the last 5 or 6 years as a world champion? Because he's still big, he's still muscle bound, he's still going to have the same base attributes. What else is he hoping is going to be different this time? That's what I can't really get my head around.
But again, you've got 2 trainers in the corner again.
Yeah,
I just don't get that, and I think that he was trying to cut his team down this camp. Had a change with Robert Garcia, but surely you can get mixed messages when it's not one voice in the corner.
Yeah,
it might be an agreement of who's leading, but they can still be wee whispers in your ear. What is it Angel Fernandez or Angel Fernandez?
You've done the pronunciation better than me. It's probably the Spanish one.
In terms of his style,
very Cuban style. Which, I mean, Joshua's not going to come out and fight like a Cuban fighter. Do you know what I mean? It's too late for that. You can't. Maybe if he was an amateur that would just turn pro, you could start to tweak the way he fights. But he's not going to come out and fight on the back foot and counter punch. And
you don't think AJ's at that time where like Amir Khan, they could go all these different trainers. Virgil Hunter, and he's going to turn into this defensive master. You see these videos of him cutting off the ring, and you know, and don't engage, like, you know, hit and don't be hit. Use your hand speed, and then as soon as someone takes a shot, he automatically thinks, I'm a fighter, I'm going to stand in the middle of the ring, and his chin doesn't support what he wants to do. I think, like, with his age, AJ is almost the same. So, like the good point you made, how much change can actually happen when the first bell goes and you start trading shots? Because I don't know at what point in the journey, but AJ suddenly wanted to prove to the world that he's this like really slick boxer, maybe the whole Cuban style with that trainer coming in, whereas devastating, just try to get the guy out there.
I think the Klitschko fight changed everything for Anthony Joshua. I think when he got hit with that massive right hand and he was put down, I think that something in him changed. And I don't know if I'm making this up, but I think he may have come out and spoke about this before, like getting hit that clean and getting put down that heavily kind of changed the way he wanted to fight, because he didn't want to be in those fights anymore where he was potentially going to be getting seriously damaged like that. So I think that was a big turning point. It's interesting because, and then the flip side of that is, we spoke about how much has changed since they last fought in September last year. Nobody in the world of boxing, bar Vasily Lomachenko, has had to experience the things that Usyk has experienced. So you said he's much bigger now, and he does look as though he's put on a bit of size. Not always a benefit in terms of how your fitness holds up, in terms of what your natural size should be. But as we all know, he's been in Ukraine on the front line. His family have been living in a war-torn country. Everything he's ever known has been getting destroyed. And I know he looks focused, and I know he's been training for a couple of months. And I've got this weird niggling feeling in the back of my head that he might be slightly off the ball. I don't know if you can be exactly the same. It's not one bad performance you're trying to overcome. It's not a change of training team you're trying to overcome, or an injury, or it's war. It's madness. Like how can you completely block out all of that and focus and zone in and have tunnel vision on this fight?
I think he's done that by, I don't know if you've seen the story. He made an approach to buy the TV rights, so
I've seen that. Yeah.
Fight for. Eventually, they agreed, like, well, just give you the rights for free. So I think it's going to be available on like his YouTube channel and stuff like that. So I think the frame of mind that he's getting in is like this. This is for his country, and I think that'll help him extremely. How much he loves his country, and the fact that he has been on the front line, and the hardship that his country's going through just now. I do think it would have taken a lot of convincing probably to actually fight, to be honest with you, but probably his way of dealing with it, or maybe his managers or people in his ear saying, look, like, do it for Ukraine. This is a chance to, again, put the light on you, what's happening in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, he is a religious guy, like, spirituality, I think, his side, his size, his ability, the fact he's a phenomenal fighter, and the fact that he's beat AJ again, I think it's going to be extremely hard to beat.
Yep.
Extremely hard to beat. I could almost see like Usyk being slightly like shaken or slightly hurt in the fight, but I'm still winning. But I've just got a feeling that he's going to stop AJ. Don't know why, but
we don't have to wait long to find out. What's your thoughts on the pay-per-view price? $26.99 for British fans. Too much? It's probably the most expensive I can remember.
Yeah, it is. It is the most expensive.
How much was Mayweather McGregor?
$24.95.
Was it? It was quite expensive as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was $24.95. But I mean, the people that are putting the price up in the UK will just simply say, "Oh well, you could," and it's like $100, you know, etc. to pay for it. I mean, I've not got a massive problem with it. I do think that the undercard could be slightly better.
Yeah.
For that price point, but there's this whole political thing going on with Sky and DAZN and I think that Sky won. I think they've chucked the kind of kitchen sink. So for them to like get their money back, as it were, I think that's why the price points come in. It's obviously a massive fight, but cost of living increase with everything, mate. And
this is the thing,
it's hitting box office fights as well, unfortunately.
It's a risky precedent to set, putting prices up for boxing, because it's one of the things that people will just say, well, I can't afford that now. It's not...
You're going to the fight. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You wouldn't, if you were in that position, you wouldn't be going to the fight, would you? If you're struggling, you wouldn't be going to the fight.
No. I mean, I think 20 for any fight, especially when you think about the volume of people that are going behind it.
Yeah.
When it starts getting up and up and up, you are ruling some people, like, try and get a hold of these dodgy streams rather than just paying the £20. Maybe the £20, like, that's nice, but when it starts getting higher, like, try and watch it through other means, which doesn't help anyone, does it?
No, not at all. How do we dig through CompuBox? Great site. Shout out Dan Canobio and the guys at CompuBox. The first fight, a couple of different things I wanted to bring to your attention, see if they surprise you or if they make sense. I seem to remember the fight being kind of one-sided in Usyk's favour, but one of the stats I've pulled out, Joshua actually outlanded Usyk in 5 of the 12 rounds. Usyk only landed more punches in 7 of those 12 rounds. What do you think of that?
Surprising. Didn't feel like that when I was watching it.
I thought Usyk won quite comfortably on the night, but yeah. So
I think when you look at Usyk's face as well that night, I always a picture like the end of the fight, and I'm like, bloody hell.
Yeah.
It doesn't look as if he's won the fight convincingly, looking at both their faces, which is strange as well.
So interesting there. So only really one round separating them, I suppose, in terms of punches landed. Both men, here's an interesting one. Both men landed exactly the same number of jabs throughout the fight.
Insane.
Both guys landed 52 jabs each.
You know me, I'm a jab man.
You're a big jab man. But AJ threw 118 more than Usyk. So far lesser accuracy. But interesting to see AJ, that was his tactic in the first fight, was to throw that jab, maybe to kind of offset Usyk, maybe to try and employ that boxing first tactic.
I think the problem in the first fight, though, is he wasn't trying to throw combinations. He wasn't backing up that jab. He was just kind of like prodding with the jab, and rather than actually like committing to throwing combinations that could have seen him stop Usyk, for example. So I think that's the main thing that Robert Garcia will be working on with this one. Like, if you are landing a jab, like, you know, commit to landing further shots. Don't just try and box a boxer, because you're not going to win that.
I guess it's trying to predict where he's going to be for the second shot, though, right? Because he's not the kind of fighter that's going to stand there for the straight right or the second shot.
I think that's why they'll be targeting the body early in the fight.
Well, funny you mentioned that.
I mean, you could say that with AJ as well. You know what I mean? Both of them. So,
aye, interesting though. 2 more. So Usyk landed 10% higher volume of his power punches. So he landed 10% more power punches than AJ did. Thoughts on that? Does that ring true?
Power punch is a hard one in that fight. I just felt that it was a bit of a kind of boxing masterclass. I don't remember too many like heavy shots. It was just more like just outboxed.
Yeah, I think he landed 33%.
What about you?
Like I seem to remember there was a couple of rounds where I thought he was clumping Joshua with a couple of nice shots. Left hand was working nice when Joshua was trying to find something. But yeah, 10% of a difference. I mean, I don't know. And then the last one, you touched on the body. So Usyk landed twice as many punches to the body than AJ. So landed double the number of shots to the body. Which we would have expected that, right? Break down the big muscle-bound, heavier guy with work to the body.
Yeah, I think I disagree with this, but I think stamina has been a slight issue for AJ just because of the muscle mass that he's got towards the tail end of a fight. So it makes sense for Usyk to do that. And I think both men will be doing that in this second fight. So it'll be interesting to see who wins that battle. I think
you can probably expect Joshua to be trying to work the body as well. If he's seeing that Usyk's coming in a bit bigger, a bit heavier, maybe there'll be some questions raised about his fitness. I don't think there should be, because he's never shown like a lack of fitness or a lack of professionalism. But that extra size will be.
Remember that in the third fight with Wilder and Fury? Like at the start of the fight, I was like, oh my God. Wilder started training and it was like great shots to the body, and I was like, body, he could actually. He was smashing the body.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what I mean. Either man in this fight ideally is wanting to try and do early on. take a bit of wind out of the sails.
Is that the key?
I would say so.
Is that how Joshua could shift the balance of power then, working Usyk's body a little bit more, or is it more combination punching for you?
I think a bit of both. Like, I do think that when people say that he needs to be more aggressive and he needs to commit more, like, what do you mean by that? For me, what I mean by that is he has to throw shots, he has to throw combinations. Joshua can't just admire and land a jab and go, that's not going to win the fight.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to need to be aggressive, and probably going to be picked off a couple of times. But if you land one of those big combinations, who knows? You could stop Usyk.
Interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see the thing I've enjoyed most, not enjoyed, but the thing I found most interesting, since the defeat to Ruiz, is the walkout. Seeing how he looks when he walks out, because that first Ruiz fight where he was stopped, just looked off, and even the Usyk fight looked off again. Looked like he was maybe too happy to be there, or too, I don't know. It just seemed like
so weird with that. Do you remember the early days with AJ? And it was like, oh, look at Mr. Chilled sitting in the dressing room smiling. He had his beats on, he had a tracksuit. He was just like chilling, listening to probably Bob Marley, just relaxing. Everyone's like, never seen a guy this stature so relaxed.
Yeah.
And then you're right, that Ruiz fight, I mean, bring it a book one day and we'll find out what happened that night. I'm dying to find out, because something
bizarre,
something untoward happened. I don't know what it was.
It's like, do you know what it reminded me of? Ronaldo in the 1998 World Cup final, where he was class all the way through. Something happened, nobody really knew what happened, and then he went missing in the final. And it turns out he had like the fit or whatever he had in the dressing room before the game, and maybe he shouldn't have played.
Oh, by the way,
one of those kind of things.
AJ coming out to Usyk to knock out from Rocky. Wow.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh,
it was good. Aye,
so good.
And I do like the big flaming AJ.
Aye,
pretty cool. But that's us, mate. That's us done. So sticking to the predictions from last pod, you're going Usyk stoppage. I'll stick with AJ split decision.
Wow.
Yeah, you got.
Well, I'm hitting out with lots of wows tonight. I don't know why.
Stick with it.
I think it was just the excitement of speaking to Buddy. So thanks for lining that up, mate. And commit to our viewers that we will have a guest the next time we sit down at this table.
Yep.
Soon.
It's holiday season, so we're waiting on people getting back from their breaks. We'll get somebody in a third chair here, but until then, subscribe, share the podcast, comment, enjoy AJ Usyk, and stay safe in the sweltering heat. Factor 50 in it.
Absolutely. Skin. That's us. We're out.